Hello, my name is Gabriel from GabakUSA. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to build a miner riserless. So in this case, if you don't know, we have this case. I like it very much. It's one of the best I ever found. So I hope I can find more or make my own. So here I'm going to show you the differences that you're going to get when you have to build a lot of video cards. Let's say in this case, we can put up to 8, but that would be enough, at least to make it simple. I seen another motherboards. They are larger. I think you can put up to 12, but maybe I'll make another video later on. But at least for the basic, if this is the first time that you're going to start building something like that, you have two options. One, put in all the video cards as usual, like in a normal computer. You can put them all together. Or you can use the system with riserless, with the rise, and you have to put one next to the other one with the cable and everything. So I'm going to show you one rise, so that way you know what I'm talking about. Okay, here I have a rise. I'm going to show you. I am going to change the camera so that way you will see what I'm talking about. So let's say that this is maybe a motherboard, a regular motherboard. Is this long, and then because you don't have many places to put the video card, so you're going to use one of these. So this is electronic board, where you're going to put a video card here, and then you're going to use this cable to extend the cord. So usually you're going to put it like that, and then you're going to put this somewhere else. So maybe you have seen, I'm going to show you in a picture, those computers, or maybe those frames where you have the cable like that with the power supply, with the power cord and everything, and you have the video card just like that in this case. But the thing is, if you have one cable, well, it may not be a big deal, but if you have many, like maybe 12, 10, or 19 or something like that, if you want, you can see my other videos where I show you how to build one of these rigs, but with the with these kind of devices that I'm showing you right now. So if you want to build something like that, I recommend you to see the other video. I think this will be the best bet because you don't have to deal with this. When you have the more parts that you have in the middle, you will have more points of failure. So that is why I prefer to build rigs without this. But if you don't have any other option, maybe in your country you don't have these kind of things, you can let me know. I'll try to send you one of these. Of course, I'll test everything, so that way you are 100% sure that everything that you get is going to work just properly. So here I have a video card. As you can see, always use an anti-static glove, so that way you will prevent any damage on the motherboard. And here we have, in this case, we have an RX 580. So, but it doesn't matter. Maybe in 2020 or 2030, you're going to see this video, and you will get surely better video cards. So it doesn't matter the video card that you're going to use. What I'm showing you here is is just one example of how you can build this. So in this case, as you can see, we have the case, like I showed you before. In the front, if you want, you can see my other video that I was reviewing this computer case. So as you can see, in the back we have 3 fans, and we have the place to put the power supply. So this is very easy. Just put 4 screws like any other computer. If this is your first time and you never built a computer before, I recommend you to go to my playlist, so that way you can see all my videos. I have like over 200 videos about how to become a computer technician, and I explain everything step by step. So here I'll show you at least the basics. So if you have some idea, that will be great. So in the other side, like I mentioned before, we have the 4 fans in the front, and here we have the USB, and we have 2 USB, and we have the power button, and we have the reset button, and we have these handles that you see here that I like it a lot. So if you want to put it in some rack, or if you want to start stacking them, I like that a lot. Also, another good thing about these kind of computers is that you have the fans in the front, in the back, in the front, and you have those little funnels that you can put on the back, so that way you can connect it to a conduit, and then you can exhaust or release the heat outside. Otherwise, if you buy all those frames, you're going to have the heat everywhere. So that is not a professional way. So if you want to have a heater in your home, yeah, do that. If you want to have, of course, something that is going to be professional and that you can stack a lot of them, and you can have a system to release all the heat outside, this is the way to go. Otherwise, don't do that. So this is what I'm going to recommend you. So now I'm going to change the camera once again. So here we have the motherboard. I made a video review about this, so it's very easy. I like this motherboard. I mean, it has a good price, basically. It's about it is about 150. So it may change over price. I mean, the price, of course, depending on the demand. But here you have the VGA port, you have here the USB port, and you have the Ethernet. So just the basic, no sound card, no anything, so because you don't need it at least for mining, so that is a good thing. Here you have the port, so if you want to use storage, like a M2 storage is SATA, so you can connect it here. It's the port that you're going to use for the operating system. So in this case, we're not going to put anything because I'm waiting for an adapter, so that way I can connect it to my computer and load the operating system and then put it here. If you're going to put Windows here, I mean this computer, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you can put it here, just put up with a USB or maybe a DVD, that's it, and then you install it. But if you're going to install maybe any other operating system, you have Hive OS or OS Hive, whatever. Simple Mining is the second one. You have the Ether OS, that is the other one, and then you have Windows, and if you want to use any Linux, maybe you can do the same thing. But in this case, if you want to use the three that I mentioned, Ether OS, Simple Mining, or Hive OS, you have to have some kind of adapter to use that, or if you want, what I have done, that it works just fine, you can grab one of these shunt drives, plug it in, and the computer will boot without any issue. The only problem I found in this type of motherboards is like if you have to reboot the computer with the reset, usually it will not boot again, it will boot only from here, and you will not have the option to select the pen drive as for default, I mean for a unit as default, and it will not boot. So the only way to solve that, at least with this version of BIOS, is just to power off, power back on, and that's it. I don't like that, so that is why I'm waiting for the adapter so I can install one of those three operating systems that I told you before. And that way it should work just fine. That is the good thing. Also, you're going to see here I'm going to change the camera so that way you will see it. So here we have the RAM. So I bought the RAM from them. So I hope it will work just fine. I've been using the RAM, so I don't see any issue for now. And it's like I said, it's a SODIMM. It's for notebooks. The motherboard is very basic. There are a few things I don't like about this motherboard. For instance, when you put the storage device here, I'm going to bring it on so that way you will see it. As you can see, this is the drive that they sell you. So 60 gigs is plenty more than enough. So you will put it here. So I'll show you. That is how you put it. Put it here, you put the screw, and that's it. And you will be thinking, okay, there is nothing wrong with that, it should work. Yeah. But as you can see here, the panel, the diagram is here. So if you put it like that, you're not going to be able to see it. So if this is your first time, I recommend you to put the cables. So for the panel, like I'll show you before in my other video. So if you want, if you see, here you have the reset, the power on, I mean the power switch, and the cables, I mean for the LED lights and all of those things. So like I mentioned before, if this is your first time, maybe I recommend you to go to the playlist so that way you can see all my videos about how to become a computer technician, and you will see all these things that I'm talking about. Another thing that you're going to see in this motherboard is you have the SATA here, in case if you want to use a regular SATA hard drive. And the power is here, so you have to have the cable, at least when I bought this motherboard, it didn't came with this cable, with the power cable, so you will have to use something that some connector with the power supply. I mean, no big deal, but you know, it's something that maybe you have to file a claim or something like that to them so they can send it to you. The processor that you're going to have here is a Celeron Skylake, so it's pretty new. It's one of the latest version, and it's fast enough. It's 1.6 gigahertz, and here you will have 8 gigs of RAM, so it's plenty for at least for the mining. So for the basic, that will be good. And other than that, another flaw that at least that you have to be aware of this is, as you can see, there is no power connectors here. As you can see here, you see the diagram, so you should have one of like that here, but it's unfortunately they didn't put it. I don't know why. Maybe in the future they will add it, but the bad thing is that the power supply will be running all the time, and the way they give you the power supply is with a bridge. So as you can see, they link the two cables, so that way the power supply is on all the time. So it should be here, but that is the only disadvantage that you're going to have. Other than that, it works. I mean, the motherboard is going to work using all these connectors that you have here. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you will have all the cables here. So make sure this is the jumper that you're going to see here, and the diagram is backwards here. So for the panel, so it's something that you have to keep in mind. And if you see here, the reset is next to the little jumper that you have here, and in the other side is the power, and in the other side you will have the lights. So that is basically all you have to know. And here is the USB. So if you want to have the USB on the front, that will be very important that you plug it in here. I think these kind of things, they could be fixed over time. Maybe they could move just this over here, maybe this here or somewhere else, because maybe the USB could be around this area. Here you have a lot of space. It could be here as well. Other than that, it's good enough. So another thing that I don't like about this case is that you have all these cables hanging here. Yes, you can move them later. That will be another step, but I'll show you at least how to build this motherboard. I mean, this system to make it run, and you can move the cables later on. Of course, that will take more time, a little bit more of creativity, but I'll try to zoom out. Okay, as you can see, we have the cables that we are going to put just over here. You can daisy change them if you want to. The same thing here. I don't like much the connectors. You have to push them inside a little bit, and you have a lot of cables that you're not going to use. Like you have tons of SATA cables and these molecs. At least for this power supply, they sell you, these people of Octminer, they sell you this power supply. So I bought everything from them, so that way there is no excuse. Also, they sell another video cards. I asked them, their price is not very good. So this is their website, just in case if you want to go. But that is my thought about this case and motherboard. So as you can see, we have all these little supports that you see here, like any other case, and we have to put them just on top of it, make them fit, and you will be set almost 100%. So what you have to do now is to start putting the screws, and that is why I put these cables before. Also, like I mentioned before, you see you have this power supply here. I mean, that is fine. This motherboard maybe could be in different place, or maybe the computer case could be a little bit larger or something like that, or things could be in different place, like the plug, like I mentioned before. So that is why I connect everything. I connected everything before putting the motherboard here. Otherwise, if you have to reach, the USB here, it will be difficult. The same thing with the frontal panel. It would be kind of difficult to reach once it's in this place. So once you have done all that, I think you should be okay. You can move the cable towards this side, and everything should be fine. Other than that, I'm going to show you how to connect everything and how to make it work. So stop complaining now. So sorry about that, but those are things that you have to know. So this is the type of support that I was talking about before. Okay, almost fall from my fingers. So if you are used to build computers, this is the type of support that I was talking about. So you have to make sure that that every hole in the motherboard is going to fit over there. So at least in this case, there is no other choice. You cannot buy something else, otherwise it will be very difficult to find a motherboard like this. So just grab a screwdriver, as you can see, or if you don't have this magnetized tip like you see, you can use this magnetizer. It works great, so that is what I have done. So basically what you do is just put it like that, just few seconds, and that's it. So that is all you have to do. So I have done it before, and if you want to demagnetize it, you can do the other thing as well. So this magnetizer, so I hope you can see it. There you go. Magnetizer desmagnetizes. So if you don't want to have the magnetism anymore, you do the same thing here. If you want it, you go here. So now we have the screws, and we're going to put it in each hole. So what you can do in case, in this case, I have tested the motherboard before, and I know it works and everything looks fine. But if this is your first time, you don't know if the motherboard is going to work or not, I recommend you just to put maybe 2 or 3 screws here and 1 in this area, and that's it. So that way, if you have to send it back for RMA or something like that, it will not be a pain and you will not lose that much time. So in this case, remember you have 2 types of screws, so use the tiny thread and it should work just fine, at least with this kind of support. Now we have the last one of the latest one going to be here. It's not that necessary to put every so many screws, but you have them, it's better. So that way it will be very firm. At least I put them all, or almost all. So once you have it here, also remember you have to put the RAM. So it's very simple. Just slide it in, make the click sound, and that's it. So very basically like any other notebook. So once you have this here, you have this cable here, like I mentioned before. You can daisy chain it, and that will be okay. So I'm not going to turn them on now, because of course it's going to make a lot of noise. But that is how basically you have to do. You have all the cables. So here you have the power supply, like I mentioned before. It's just 4 screws, that's it. And you have to try to make it look pretty later, so that way when you have all the video cards and everything, you will not have a mess. So the only bad thing about this power supply is doesn't have any mesh. So as you can see here, you have a mesh in one place, and the other ones, the other places, you don't have any. So even though with all these disadvantages, I like it the best option than even using the race. So the raceless is at least is the best option. I was thinking worst case scenario, once you have everything in one place, you can start maybe adding some mesh or something on all these cables, so that way you don't have to deal with all this. Maybe once I have everything up and running and I know that everything works okay, at least leave it like at least for a week, so that way you make sure that everything is working, that you don't have to, undo everything to send it back to the manufacturer or something like that for any failure. But you can try to put some kind of mesh here, so that way you don't have all these cables like that. I don't like it like that. It's very, very messy. So if I can find something like that, that would be great. So now that you have this, you're going to see, at least with this power supply, you're going to see that you have these connectors for pins. So in this case, this connector is going to go here. I'll show you here in the video card. I'll show you later on here, but first of all, we're going to connect the motherboard. So by the way, I'll show you how everything works. So like I mentioned before, we have this for the video card. Here, in this case, for the motherboard, we are going to remove these extra 2 pins from here and from here as well. And we can connect it just here and here. And we have the first 2. Now we're going to connect the other 3. So here, the same thing, very easy. There is no way that you can connect it otherwise. And here we have the last one. And there is no more cables to connect, at least at this point. Later on, like I mentioned before, we have the Molex connectors. So what you can do, once you daisy change them all, so that way you don't have to connect one by one, you can connect it here, and then do the same thing. You search for another one, go here, and connect it here, and that's it. So later on, I'll make another video showing you the temperatures, having all the 8 video cards just working full speed here. And let's see if I can maybe use something else, or try to change the connectors for something else, so that way I can use another device to change the RPMs, so that way we can make it a little bit more quiet. And now, here we have the other cable, like I mentioned before. We're going to use it for here. There you go. Make sure it has to fit very easily. So if you have to force it or something like that, you're using the wrong cable. So make sure you're doing what I'm saying. So here we're going to put the video card. And there you go. So that is very easy. In case if you don't know how to do it, if you want to buy a razor, you can, just put it here. But I think it's very straightforward. So the only thing that you have to make sure is this little lock mechanism is all the way out. So that way it will not be on the way to connect the video card. That's it. So you see, even though you see a lot of cables, it's much less cables because you don't have these things laying around everywhere. So also you will have less pain with this kind of thing. You just plug it in and it works. There is no other way. And now I'm going to put the screen here. Before doing that, I'll show you one more thing. So in this case, you don't have the I/O just here, all the panels just right away. So you have to try to put your hand over here. So in this case, you will have like I mentioned before in the beginning, you will have here the VGA. So you will have to connect the VGA over here. There you go. Once you connect the VGA, you will have to connect the keyboard. Otherwise, you will hear some beeping sound because you don't have the keyboard connected. And also another thing that is very important is the Ethernet cable. Otherwise you're not going to be able to connect the unit to internet, and you will not be able to mine. So that is very important. Other than that, you can release or remove this plastic later on. So because it's all blue, with this kind of the protection it has, so it will not scratch, or it will not scratch your table as well. So here in this case it doesn't matter. This table is a bench just made for this. So now I'm going to show you here the monitor. I'm going to turn it on, so that way I'll show you the BIOS. Is very basic. I mean, the BIOS is like almost any other computer, and that's it. So now we are going to turn on the switch, and here you hear it. It will be a lot louder if I connect the front and the back, all those fans. And now you have to press Ctrl and Delete. As you can see, that is how it starts. There we go. Here we have the BIOS, and I'll try to zoom in. All right. So as you can see here, you can choose the language. In this case, it's just English. Here is the hour, the date. As you can see here, we have the memory. We have 8 gigs. Here the frequency. Here you can see Skylake. The BIOS version 1.0 is 2017. The build was made. And here you have the CPU. So here you have few options, like I mentioned before, is Celeron 1.6. What I would recommend is just leave it the way it is, because you're not going to be rendering, or you're not going to be doing any video editing with this kind of computer. So you're not going to virtualize anything here, so it makes not much sense. The only thing that I will remove, if you want to, is just the full logo. So when you turn it on, usually you will see the brand up to Miner in this case. You can disable it, and that's it. And here the bad thing is that you will not see the BIOS, like I mentioned before, the options to select which device you want to boot in. So that is the only bad thing. The only thing that you will see is this device, and that's it. So that is why I'm going to buy the adapter. Maybe I'll make a video about that. And then here you just save it, exit, and that's it. So if you want, I'll try to show you. I'll try to connect the USB, so that way you will see that it works just fine. So save. You see, if you see this, that is not booting, you have to turn it off, turn it back on. The power supply will still working, but the motherboard will shut down by itself. And when you press it, as you can see, I just removed the BIOS. I mean that image, and now it should boot up. Great. We have the Ubuntu. I think this is the simple mining OS. I'm going to connect the Ethernet cable, otherwise you will see some kind of error saying that it cannot connect. I just turned it off by its accident, so I have to turn it back on. Okay, now we are going to start with the Ether OS. You may need a mouse if you want to, but in this case, it says, as you can see, it detects 80 gigs of RAM, just one GPU, Radeon RX 580. So you see, if you have some problems, just do this. Okay, great. So that is all you're going to see here. Now you have to edit some config file here, but other than that, that is how it works. So I'm going to make another video just specifically about the Ether OS, the simple mining, the Hive OS Hive, and all those things, so that way at least you have few options. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. So this was very simple. Just make sure you have everything right. I mean, make sure that you have the right power supply, the right motherboard, and everything else. Otherwise, if you don't have enough power, the video cards, they are not going to work, or the system is not going to be stable. and you're going to have a lot of pain. Okay, now the machine is start hashing, so I'm going to change the camera so that way you can see it a little bit, but here we have 12, so it's going to go up to 25. So at least with this, if I do some overclocking, maybe it would be up to 30, but at least you know that the system is working with this one video card, so we can add more on the future. So like I show you, like I told you before, if you want, go to the playlist, so you have my different classes about how to become a computer technician. If you want networking or if you want something else, go to the playlist. And if you want to be notified about every time I upload a video on YouTube, please click on the little bell and YouTube will notify you. Thank you for everything. See you next time. Bye.